Also on the wall behind me is the remnants of my battle jacket, and the only significance it might have at this point is there are two different insignias on the shoulders. On the left shoulder is I Corps, First Corps, which is an Army outfit, and on the right shoulder is the 2nd Marine Division. Because although I was sworn into the Army, I was assigned to the 1298th Combat Engineer Battalion, which was assigned to 2nd Marine Division. So I'm kind of a mix between half and half.
Now we have your little phrase book, and
yeah, I have a few of those things. So one's in my pocket. You know, I would have about 20 Japanese laborers assigned every day to work with. They didn't speak a word of English, and I didn't speak a word of Japanese. And my sole salvation was this little phrase book here, affectionately called a dictionary. And what you would do is you would just pick out a word, and like if I wanted to dig a ditch, I would look up in the dictionary the word ditch, say it, then I'd look up the word dig and say it, and point to it, and eventually you began to develop a vocabulary where you didn't have to keep looking up words. I was young enough I could remember from one day to the next then. But you didn't worry about tense or participles or anything like that. You just used the words. They got the idea. They would use a word, I'd hear them say it, and this dictionary goes two ways. The first half is English to Japanese, the second half is Japanese to English. They also have a way of writing in Japan. They have an alphabet too. We have 26 letters in ours, ABCs. They have in theirs, and it's on the screen there, a 39-letter alphabet. Instead of ABC, that goes E, Ro, Ha, He, Ho, Ni, J, and those are their alphabets. And everybody learns this, but you also see the other form of writing, which is much more flowery and exhaustive, and it's more the classical, and it's based on Chinese script. This is much simpler. Everybody learns this. Not everybody particularly learns the other, but as of today, I find more and more people learning English there, so I don't know what the future holds on that. But I also, when I came back, brought the samurai sword, which I have since sold. And probably the most interesting thing was the booby trap rifle. And what the Japanese, and they're very clever, when they were retreating, they would lay these rifles down. Now they looked for the world like a rifle, but they weren't. But they were loaded with an explosive. And of course, they were banking on the first impulse when somebody picked it up would be to open the chamber to see if there was anything in it, and that's when it would explode and blow up in their face. Yeah. So that's pretty much.
That's pretty much it. Then.
Japan in 1945. Yeah.
Could you? Your unit stayed there until December.
Till about mid-December, and then we moved north to another town called Fukuoka, which was not as badly damaged, but for whatever reason, our mission in Nagasaki had been completed, and then we were needed in Fukuoka. So.
Mm-hmm. And when did you? When were you discharged finally from the service?
Well, I left Japan from up around Yokohama, is what we set sail on an old English vessel called the George S. Julian. We just called it the Dirty George. And that's what brought us back to the States, and I was discharged at Fort Meade.
Okay, so that terminated your service time, just tell us briefly what you did from there on, and when you returned and your...
Well, I went back and finished school because I had 3 more semesters to go before I got my degree. And then after I finished school, I took a job with Columbia Gas System. I worked for them for 42 years and in various places. And we were in 7 states over that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And when were you and Edna married? Was that post-war?
We were married in 1949. Because I graduated in 47. Mm-hmm. 2 years later, we were married. Yeah. So we'll have our 60th anniversary this summer, or this September.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And you also attained your professional engineering certificate.
I did a dumb thing there. I waited 17 years after I graduated before I took my exam for licensing. But
okay, I would like to close then by certainly thanking you, Dick, for your effort in putting this together. Also, we'd like to thank Heather and Rose and Chris and Leonard, the cameraman from Maris Grove. Also, all of the veterans living at Maris Grove, especially those of the greatest generation. And Dick, to close, would you recap the history of your forebears in the military? It's very interesting.
Well, you heard my story. My dad was in World War I in the 323 Field Artillery Medical Detachment. His grandfather was in the 107th Pennsylvania Volunteers in the Civil War, and he was at Appomattox when the surrender took place there. His father was in the War of 1812, served 2 tours of duty on Presque Isle and Lake Erie. And his father came over from Alsace-Lorraine with the French forces under Duke Luzon. And he came over the French forces, but he spoke German. And instead of, when his time was up, instead of going back to France, he elected to stay in this country.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Oh.
Once again, thank you, Dick, and it's been a pleasure.
Yep. Well, it's been fun.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the bay, the children's carousel, the chestnut tree.